you know. Yeah, welcome back to Wildcat Fanalytics. It's Jesse and Mike after the Colorado-Utah home series.
Yeah, it's a fun
Um,
one.
Bear down, Mike. Yeah, we got a lot of good stuff, and we're gonna sort of try to move through it with some grace and efficiency. And then Mike may have a follow-up because he's done some really cool work around scouting our defense. So with no further ado, let's jump in. Mike, who wins your Bear Down Award for the weekend?
Yeah, Bear Down Award. We were talking about Kylan and Pella both needing to step up after the Stanford game. I mean, neither guy did enough. I thought Pella was good on the boards, and Kylan, had some good assist numbers, but their point production just wasn't there, and you need that out of those two guys. I thought they came back with the aggression that we really needed, and on the defensive end as well. Trailing through screens better, getting skinny, getting after guys, staying in the rear view. But the aggression on the offensive end and fighting through, even some misses just to keep going after it and getting their points back up towards their season average rather. Loved it, needed it. Not surprising, but they're getting my award, both of them.
Beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah.
there were so many worthy moments this weekend. So and also shout out to the McHale crowd because it seemed like the energy was
Ooh.
there against Colorado and this team kind of needed that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Keyshaw Johnson. I could have gone with any number of guys as you
Yeah.
said.
He was on my
But
list, obviously.
totally. And I'm gonna go into some video clips around why I'm mentioning him. Um, and let's just leave it at that. So I'm going to
Yeah.
start off by presenting. I sort of worked on the offense and Mike worked on the defense this week. So I'm going to present a bunch of clips from the games. And my theme is looking at offense that feels like it could translate into almost any defensive situation.
Okay.
We talk about bulletproofing. I'm looking for offense that translates. A lot of Arizona's offense is predicated on creating wide open dunks and layups. And
Right.
by all means, if you can feast on that against Tennessee and Kentucky and Houston and Kansas and whoever the Field of 68's team of the week is, you then go for it.
Yeah.
Purdue, etc.
But
But what translates in March is you've got to be able to score with a defender in between you and the hoop. And so what I
yeah,
really broke down is the possessions where I felt like we were able to demonstrate offensive execution that ended up in um, baskets where we had to shoot over people, we had to execute around people, and that felt like
love
really,
that.
really transferable offense. So
Yeah.
um, as I just told Mike, I'm relying on
Our tech
a
our
new
tech
thing,
remains really high level.
really high level. We're we're relying on a new thing. I'm going to try to work from the ESPN replay, and so we're going to kind of go bouncing back between screen share because it won't let me toggle by seeing the timestamp. So this first one is right at the beginning of the game. Um, ooh, and it's not even showing up.
It might not love that the
Mm, oh,
broadcasting.
here we go. Let's see. Let's see if this works now. This is a new thing. Let's
Yeah.
see. It may not let me do it. Oh, it's there when I don't go.
It may
Dang
not
it.
love your broadcast, yeah, to like that, to
Is that
share the,
like a copyright thing?
yeah, like a copyright thing.
Yeah, because as soon as I stop share, okay, well, there goes half of our show. So your your time limit will be well served. A lot of these clips didn't show up in the highlight forms, but
Oh wow.
what we had was I thought so I'll just expand on my award. So
Jeez.
Keyshot had several buckets, and I'll go to the Utah clips in a second. He had several buckets against both teams that were within the 2 point area where he had to go either through people or over people. And we hadn't seen a lot of that since the Middle East trip.
Mm.
So I will jump right to, let's see if I can find, dang, those are some good ones.
We're gonna get this in here somehow. Maybe not this
Yeah,
show. Yeah.
I blew it. I didn't know that the copyright thing would be an issue, but it makes sense. So this first one against Utah, let me get that one going.
I think Johnson is just so, I dreamed of him having that role for us. And when we were heading into the season, in the off season, just because of his athleticism and length, right? And just the perfect size to put rim pressure without being, the weightiness of Ballo.
So here's a situation where he's going to come off a essentially a dribble handoff ball
Yep.
screen. And these are situations where we've either been kicking out or settling for threes. And I love that right in the beginning of the game, just turns the corner
Yeah,
and bully balls the guy.
it was so great.
Yeah.
he I thought that I loved that coming out, and I thought it set the tone for the offense, or was indicative of the offense that Lloyd wanted us to get against Utah. They're a big
Mhm.
team, right? And one of the biggest in the country. Play two bigs, as you noted when we were heading into that game, and for us to just go straight into their chest repeatedly.
Yes. Yes.
I thought Pella did the same. I saw Kylan do it, but with a little bit less success. But yeah, loved it.
Here's another one. Same play, I think, except he's going to be at the top of the key and there's the roll. And what I like about that is that
That's so good.
he just went for it. Maybe you get
Yeah.
stuffed. Maybe you get stopped at the rim when you're playing Kentucky or UConn, but we need to be able to force the issue. And I love that there's
Yeah.
no hesitation, no hesitation. So that to me is more transferable offense, even though you're going to face more formidable front courts. I love that he did that. And I think there's one coming up right after this, which was maybe the most encouraging. We'll just let this play through. Where he gets the ball late in the, is this the one? It's one of, I had a series of Oumar not being able to finish at the rim. I had this whole thing laid out where I was talking about like how, Oumar is such a tricky player, but we'll talk
Yeah.
about that. We'll talk about that more. Somehow I blew the timestamp. Let's see if this is right here. Man, it's so funny because I thought this was my most prepared tech. All right, so this might be it. So here's Keyshot in the post. Let's see if this is it. Yeah, and just ducking in and going right through someone, which I
I
love.
remember, yeah, and I remember when that happened in real time that I was like, that's magic. I can't believe
That's
that he skinnied through there and and had the body control, right?
Yeah, so we're gonna watch this. I'm gonna let it roll because the next one's Umar. So he just goes for it, and maybe he gets swatted, maybe he gets stuffed, but we need that because you're gonna get fouls. And then the early post. This is one that Umar actually did finish. So I was gonna show that just for respect.
Just to give him a little bit of flour, yeah.
And then okay, here's my favorite one coming up. This is Keshad's end of the shot clock, I believe. Yeah. So the shot clock's winding down in this. Oh no, that was just a turn. Where is the jumper? He had this awesome shot clock. Maybe that was against Colorado.
God,
Um,
this second half we really ran away with that game.
so let's just go with that. Yeah, tell me your general impression of what you saw against Utah.
Yeah, and I guess we'll skip the Colorado game in a lot of ways. I kind of skipped it in a lot of ways because it felt a little unfair with them, missing a couple of really important players. Some guys that would contend for starting minutes on Arizona's squad. So there's a really high quality guys in De Silva and Cody Williams, and then we were just playing, with incredible fire coming out of that loss, right? So I'm not going to take a lot out of the Colorado game, unique circumstance. We'll take a lot out of that Utah game. Maybe the most notable thing for me, I did think that we played, like I said, on offense with really good energy going into guys, and being forceful. That's the way that I think Tommy wants us to play, and I think that's our greatest strength is just to be a stronger, tougher team. And glad to see them do that. It looked like it wore down Utah and got to them and forced them out of their offense in a lot of ways, which I thought was really cool. If we're able to assert ourselves, that impacts the other team's ability to be a strong offensive team. Maybe most notably for me, Utah was super well coached. Their offensive sets were, not wildly complicated, but intelligent. It was a very intelligently run, stagger screens to get guys open, back screens, brush screens, just horn sets, it's normal stuff that you should see out of a good coaching staff. We run, I think, a less structured offense, and so it was kind of cool to see them run that and see us try to respond. I thought we responded fairly well on defense, but a lot of it was maybe just that we were on offense and they ended up missing some shots. And so you and I were texting previously about that, and you said, you don't want to become a victim of the moment, right? That they hit those shots, and again, we're a trash defense, or they didn't hit those shots and we win like we did, and all of a sudden we're fantastic again. It's somewhere in the middle. There's a lot of areas for improvement for us. I think this is still a unit that is still coalescing. And so I am excited to continue to watch the team gel on defense, and communicate better, and be an even tougher defense.
Totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that stood out to me against Utah. That's the first game that I've watched live since November that we've won. I've had quite a My son and I were like, God, finally we got one. And
Yeah.
I'm watching it, and I say that because I'm watching it without knowing the outcome. And that's a totally different risk
Yeah.
as a
It's a
fan.
different experience, isn't it?
And I'm just like, man, they are getting a lot that it looks like they want. And
Yeah.
I listened to Craig Smith. Craig Smith had his weekly presser yesterday, I think,
Oh, wow.
at Utah, and I listened to the first couple minutes, and he talked about ASU and U of A, and he said, I was pretty pleased with what we got at Arizona. We hit threes in the first half, and then we didn't hit enough shots in the second half, but we kind of got what we wanted. And that's unsettling for sure. I will say
Totally.
that unlike Stanford, I felt like we came back, we really fight with our offense. And I think
It's
one thing this team does that puts pressure on opposing teams is we're more relentless with our offensive conviction than definitely than last year, and maybe even a little more diverse than the first year, although without the high ceiling
right.
individual capacity that Matherin had and Koloko had on defense and Terry
Yeah.
had, in multiple roles. But what I love is we just kept coming. We didn't sort
Yeah.
of like slog out. And what I wanted to show in that Colorado game was there were several. You and I talked about a couple weeks ago how we just want to see them run their stuff and trust it.
Yeah.
And there were several possessions against Colorado where we really ran our stuff and it took 20, 25 seconds, but we ended up with good shots. And there were several moments where it's like, oh, this could be where somebody pulls up from 25, but we kept running it. We kept running it. And that more than anything, I didn't even think the defense was that great against Colorado, to be honest.
Mhm.
They missed a lot of open shots too.
Yeah.
But what I want to appreciate about Arizona, because it's easy to scrutinize,
Right.
is you have to play really well to beat us. Like you have to
Mhm.
almost play out of your mind. And
Yeah.
teams will, it's going to happen. Right. But if we're that relentless on offense, even if somebody, is
Yeah.
like, dang, like Utah's a pretty good offensive team and Carlson had a rough night, they could have easily put up 85 to 90 points on us. And that's a little
Yeah.
disconcerting. But even so, they would have had a hard time beating us because we were really executing. So the connectedness and the conviction on offense, um, it seems to have been there at home all year. So now, the next step is can some of that, even if you don't hit that many shots, can that transform into the road version, which, maybe you're not 11 for 20 from three or whatever they were, but you're working it and you're getting to the foul line and it's a little bit more gritty,
Yeah.
but it's still efficient, and it's not just kind of throwing away possessions and waiting for the other team to miss a three.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think I saw the same where I felt like, as Kylan in particular played with the right pace, where he wasn't rushing through, and so I
Mhm.
thought that helped us get through to run our stuff, and equally,
I'm
to
looking
see
at my
our
notes. Yeah.
offense, um, dictate their offense, like I said just previously. I thought that was so interesting, and so I love that you plucked that out because it struck me as well, and I'll continue to watch that going forward. Our offensive conviction impacting the other team's just ability to feel confident about their offense
Yeah. And I
and
have
run what
to,
they run.
yeah, I have to remind myself that we we are hard to beat and we put pressure on teams to play really well. Like you can't,
Yeah,
we really shouldn't come, think about it. I can't remember an Arizona team that scored 82, 84, and 95 and lost. And granted the FAU was double OT. So that was 73 in regulation. That was actually like a decent defensive game. Um,
Yeah.
but still like Lute had a string where they like were like 102 when they score over 80 points or something like that. And part of it's playing good teams, Purdue's really good. Stanford shouldn't score 100 on us. I don't
No,
care.
no,
It's just,
no,
but um, so yeah, I think there was a lot of good to come, and I'm also I was watching. I was hoping. Do we have any clips? Because we did sort of do a little bit more like soft help on ball screens. Yeah,
yeah,
we gonna look at that
yeah,
at all?
yeah. Let's see. Which ones did I throw in there for us to chat about? So,
Oh, there you go.
um,
Yep, I got it.
you got it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Starting
and
at 26 seconds. Yeah,
yeah,
I'll queue it up.
26 seconds early in the game, and I've got notes from like 15 different possessions because I just wasn't expecting it, but I went back and rewatched, and I was just so impressed, honestly, again with Utah's offense and their ability to run what they needed to run in order to force us, to be in a difficult position. I thought this was good defense by us. I thought this was interesting as well. This is Kylan and Keshad are going to blitz the ball screen here. So, traditionally we've been talking about playing a drop coverage, and you see Ballo in the drop there. But they have Keshad and Kylan in the ball screen, and they end up blitzing them, which is forcing hitting them at the level of the screen and above the level of the screen, to try to blow it up. Unfortunately, it's better offense than it is defense in the end. But
Yeah,
it was interesting to see the different ways that that we're approaching the ball screen actions rather than just the simple fight over. And here's that action right there. They blitz to take the man out. Unfortunately, and you know, what should have happened there. I get Love probably should have rotated out of the corner. Pella then rotates to Love's man. So we need to get, and that's what I'm talking about the connectedness. So you see,
communication.
yeah, you see Love down there and Pella down there, completely outside of the play. So realistically, the communication needs to be there. That anticipation of, hey, the play isn't over. There's second level rotations that need to occur. You never know. You have 22 seconds left on the shot clock. You don't know how long this is going to go. And so just to stand there and watch it, so that's an open lane right there. Kylan is out of the play at that point, and so that's where we really needed Love to rotate through.
Yeah.
Good stuff from Utah. That's impressive. I thought we played the first part of that defensive possession really strong. Could have finished it a little bit better, but hats off to Utah.
I also saw that Houston against Iowa State. I happened to catch the last 3 minutes of that game,
Oh, cool.
and it was really, really informative to watch Houston defend the ball screen.
That's
Uh,
interesting.
and I was thinking about putting a clip on there, but again, that's ESPN replay, so they wouldn't let me do that. But there was a really similar set where they came off a sideline ball screen,
Yeah.
and they let the handoff happen. So in that case, they would have let it go to Madsen, and then they blitzed him
Hmm.
and then
Yeah.
the guy dropped back. And
So
they had the athletes
that
to do that. The guy was like, boom, right back. It was amazing. Yeah.
totally,
I was
and
like,
that
oh,
was a
that's
good.
how you guard the ball screen.
Totally, and a good criticism of what we did there, and it happened a couple of times in this game, is we blitzed the ball screen, but we blitzed too early, and so
Mm,
now if the ball handler is who you're blitzing, that's perfect. If you think you're blitzing the ball handler and the guy actually doesn't have the ball yet, well, congrats, you're doubling a guy who's off ball and out of the play now.
right.
So that's how we end up in that situation.
But I like that we tried some different stuff. Can we
Totally,
go,
yeah,
want to go to the next one?
yeah. Is it 41?
I got it.
Yeah, and again, that Utah ran a horn set on that last one and did some great stuff. So this isn't to say that Arizona has some uniquely bad defensive habits or anything. It's just you're gonna face some tough offensive sets, and you're gonna have to learn from them. And so this is some good tape for us to learn from. Um, let's see this is again to get Madsen free. So they did a lot to try to get Madsen free with off-ball screens. So I think that's Carlson at the top there, about to set.
Hmm.
basically like a brush cut back screen. So he's going to just move across,
Mm-hmm.
freeze, and so now Kylan's a step behind. But we do a good job here with, you see Pella right there. He drops down to the nail, which is the top or the middle of the free throw line. Ballo is engaged. You see Ballo stepping up, which is nice. You see Pella's already moving into the middle there to help. Obviously, that does leave shooters open. So that's, we're giving up something. You always are. But there's Ballo engaged. And again, the better offense than our defense, which is fine. I just wanted to see
Hmm.
that level of engagement out of the off ball defender, or the help defender, as well as Ballo in the drop, rather than Ballo a lot of times in those previous clips that we showed, just sort of being there. He's just sort of standing there.
There's
To
a
see
lot
him
of
get into
times
it,
where he just like, and even in these last two games, there's a lot of times where
yeah,
he just like, he stays there and he lets the guard decide,
yeah, and you're like, that's not much use, man. So
it's not much
at least to
use,
see, at least
but
to see him get big and get in this defensive stance, so you're just like, oh shit, oh, Ballo,
yes, doesn't he have like a 7'4" wingspan or something?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's like 7-2 or 7-4. Yeah, it's
There were
like
there were multiple plays against Colorado where he was in that sort of no man's land drop coverage and he was trying to hedge the ball handler and he just sat there with his arms down. And I'm like, at least put your hands up. Like Krivas had that one possession against Utah where
yeah,
he walled up
he
and
got so
yeah,
he got so big, he got
yeah,
so vertical without leaving his feet, and
yeah.
yeah, he forced the guy to try a really difficult floater, right?
Here's your next one when you're ready.
Yeah, what's the number on that one?
143.
143. Another stagger screen for Madsen. Again, just an example, and you see Ballo in the drop, and you see Pella. So Madsen's going to be in the, I think, the top right, trying to get loose, and then so Pella's going to be the help defender here. Ballo's in the drop. See, and then look at Ballo's level of the drop, higher than we saw previously, right? He was closer to the restricted circle half the time in those Stanford clips, or the FAU clips rather. So like seeing him higher here, and then again we're going to see Pella just squeeze in, and again it's a bucket, but these guys,
That's a really
it,
tough shot. Yeah.
a very, very difficult shot. And all I'm trying to see is us doing the right things, giving effort. Love doing a great job in the rear view contest
I
there.
mean, Caleb was there. Yeah. I mean, there's
Yeah, totally.
not
That's
much you can do there.
it's absolutely. And so again, part of all these clips for me was my like how impressed I was with Utah.
They were
um,
they were they're really organized and really yeah, they're really mature in the way they run stuff. They're gonna
100%.
yeah.
100, yeah, to do a double stagger screen to get a motion shooter open for to catch and turn and drill, like that's high level stuff. And they're going to get buckets on those when they're hot. But are we doing what we're supposed to be doing in order to make that harder on them? I thought we did, despite in all three of those clips, despite they got the bucket.
So here's your next one.
Yeah. What's my last one? What's my timestamp here?
218.
218. Yeah. So again, here's Ballo even higher. He's
Mm.
playing he's playing drop coverage, which is fine. This is what I wanted more out of him, is to play it higher. So he's gonna do a good job sliding. But we asked previously, like, okay, what's the risk of playing high? And we will see it here. So let's run it. He slides to cover. Unfortunately, that leaves the pick and pop open, right?
Mm.
Now, that's the other Carlson. That's Ben Carlson. Ben
Yep.
Carlson,
Hmm.
not. I mean, fine. Like basically, that's fine. Like that's a shot that you're okay giving up. He's not that prolific of a 3-point shooter. And he did, Ballo, not a bad job getting back to contest. But so when we're saying, oh my gosh, Ballo should do these things, it's not like it's not like, oh yeah, he should, because there's no risk to that. Yeah, you do some, I do like that adjustment. It does give up, a pick and pop if you've got a 4 or 5 that involved in that ball screen, the screen man that can pop out and take that open jumper.
Yeah. 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 I think overall I tried to watch based on our last breakdown and I really
Yeah.
appreciate how we did seem to try some different things and and mix up some different coverages at times. And I thought some of it was more effective. And I think, oh, again, we're not criticizing Tommy. He knows, they know more about what they're doing than I do. I think I wonder, is there an impact of being able to change up the coverages that just keeps the offense a little less than feeling like 100% comfortable that if I come off the screen, I know I can walk into a three.
Totally.
Yeah. And so it seems like we're starting to mix that in a little bit more. And it'll just come down to effort and focus and getting connected.
Yeah, and goldfishing the ones that don't go well, right? Because
Mhm.
like we saw, you can play good defense and they can still hit a shot, but you still need to go and just do what you're doing
Yeah.
to make those shots harder and harder because the accumulation will be, which is what it was in that Utah game, that we did enough to keep them off balance. We did our job on offense. We did what we do, and they got themselves. It felt like to me, and I think Tommy reflected that in the presser to say, hey, we kind of got on a run there, and it forced them to kind of get out of what they were doing well. And that's a game we won handily that maybe you don't if you're not playing with that kind of defensive intensity and focus on offense.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, I'm sorry we don't have more of these clips available. There were a lot of examples where our offense really executed well and in a way that I thought was transferable. The slapping the ball steals against Morgan State, breakout dunks. I think those are fun, but they're not going to happen against, the better teams. And so
You can't build a house on that foundation, right?
no, no. And so I really saw, the impressive thing about that Colorado game is we scored 97 points and we really didn't run that much. There were a lot of longer possessions and there were a lot of really smart possessions. Motiejos Krivas had several moves and even a couple against Lampkin because
Yeah.
Umar basically couldn't do anything against Lampkin.
No,
And
frustrating.
yeah, so we should talk about that in a minute. And I was really impressed with Krivas, and then of course he was a little, he wasn't as effective against Utah. It's going to be the case for young guys, but
Right.
I'm starting to trust him more with the ball, and I actually featured him in a couple sets where we had one. I'll just describe one set, and you can look it up on your own if you're listening to this. Um, let's see, where is it in the game? It is when Boswell hits a three. It's towards the end of the first half. Yeah. So it's I think it's when Boswell hits a three to go up 41-17. So that's a reference you can look at. But I think Colorado tried this like 1-2-2 zone, or it's maybe some sort of matchup or like a triangle interior
Yeah.
zone. They switched it and they did like a 3/4 court soft press to try to slow us down. Tad was just, reaching for straws. And I think what I liked about it is we recognized it and Love was in the game, right? So anytime Love shows temperance, I get really hopeful because
For sure.
he just gets to be unstoppable if he's patient, really.
Yeah.
And we were patient, and Krivas presented himself with about 5 left on the shot clock at the, we had to adjust because it was a zone and they trapped, so we were behind in the time in the shot clock. Krivas presents himself at the free throw line and holds onto the ball. They're stabbing at the ball, and he kicks it out to Boswell, and he drains a three with a couple. It is easy rhythm
Yeah, I
three.
remember that.
Get
Loved it.
those. We can get those all the time in this offense.
Yeah.
So we'd like to have more of those for Pella. We'd like to have more of those for,
Cut.
hey, let's go to hoop math for a second. Can we do that?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to talk about hoop math. I want to get your thoughts on,
Yeah.
and then we should discuss Umar a little bit.
Sure.
Or maybe not. I don't know. But
Yeah.
so
The patience out of Krivas was incredible on that play. I just
yeah.
have to emphasize that was so much fun.
So I'm going to just pick out some numbers, and then Mike, if you can
Yeah.
see that, I want you to pick out some numbers. Um, the most encouraging numbers for me, Caleb Love shooting 64.7%
Love
at
it.
the rim, and
I absolutely love it.
87% of his made threes are
Uh-huh.
assisted. And let's see.
Great numbers.
Um, so Pella is just, he's a
He's been
metrics machine, but
he's been absurd.
yeah, he's shooting 57% from three, and he's not, and 100% of those are assisted.
Yeah.
So he needs to get more opportunities. I also think I like Bradley shooting the three. He's at 62%. I think that's like, I think he's really taken like 11, but
Yeah. It's the smallest
he
sample size possible,
yeah,
but
yeah, but he looks comfortable and you know, he doesn't have a poetic release, but it looks solid enough. So you know, 11% of his 11.8% of his shots are from the 3-point line. And you know, so I'm open to that being more. And then we talked about Rivas in the beginning of the year. His rim percentage was in the 40s. Now he's at 61%.
love it.
Yeah. So I want to do Umar last. I'll come back to him, but what else jumps out to you there?
Yeah,
Besides Philly B's unbelievable, you know, rim
his
efficiency.
he's so good, and somehow he can't hit a three this year.
It's
His
coming.
zero
I
made threes
know.
in the season. It's unbelievable.
I'm aware from the 3-point red blue champion, he has not hit one. I've been aware of
Totally.
that. I've been aware of it the whole year. I just didn't want to. I think it's coming. I think it's coming soon.
Yeah.
And then the floodgates are going to open for Philly B.
100. Yeah, all the way to the NBA draft. Um, the so the guys that we circled at the beginning of the year, Jaden Bradley, Kylan, unfortunately, floated is at 52% at the rim. Jaden's below 50% at the rim. Would love to see those guys get a little bit higher. The one thing that strikes me here though is Keshad. I'd like to see his free throw attempt, his free throw rate get a little higher, and that kind of speaks to what you were showing with his aggressiveness, attacking, one-on-one and attacking the rim. He's a good free throw shooter, at 78%. That's pretty darn good, for his position. I just want to see him play with a little bit more abandon, and just play a little more, just explosive. Just use what he has and get at the rim. And like you said, that may not lead to him having, his rim finishing percentage may come down because some of those makes don't, some of those attempts don't become makes like they were, when they're easier. But I'd like to see him try to get fouled, try to generate just more uncomfortableness. And then, we've done a good job rebounding off of misses. And so, that allows, Krivas or Ballo or Johnson himself to get in there to get a putback.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I want your thoughts on this. And unfortunately, I don't have my little clips to show people. But you
Yeah.
know, Arizona fans can draw on their own memory of, Umar's performance. He's shooting 71% at the rim. And I think
No, people would call you a liar if you told them that.
right? Because here's my hypothesis, and I don't have the numbers and I don't have the clips today, but they're there
Yeah.
and people know them. My casual like eye test hypothesis is that he's about 95% on uncontested ball screen lobs, fast break opportunities, seals, right? If he gets an early
Hmm.
seal, he's great at converting those. What I think people are frustrated with, and rightly so, is I don't think his percentage is very good when it comes to having a defender between him and the basket.
Yeah.
And I had 3 or 4 examples of that this weekend where he just like couldn't convert. And I think like he seems to do better with his body type and his musculature. If he gets a little bit of momentum, he's got a little pop off the ground, but flat-footed, he doesn't have a lot of spring.
Yeah.
He's probably 6'10" in reality and doesn't have a lot of lift in his shot. And I think he really struggles to finish through people. And my concern is that when we get into March and we get against these better defenses, um, are we going to continue to try to make this happen? Because it seems like that's
Whoa.
that's where things stall out. And also with the way he's shooting free throws, if I'm defending him, I'm just all over him if he's trying to score in the post and I'm between him and the rim. I'm mugging him, you know?
And I was going to say that exact same thing. I do wonder as well. Is his free throw struggles, and it's a struggle. I mean, is he 40 something percent right now?
40,
44.
44. Mhm.
44%. I mean,
It's brutal.
I don't know that I've seen an Arizona basketball, and it's, hey, we're not, the season's not done, so it can go up, but I don't know that I've seen an Arizona basketball player, a starter, um, with that poor of free throw shooting. I wonder if, and people can check me on that. shoot me your examples of your least favorite free throw shooters of all time. I wonder if that's gotten in his head a little bit, where he's like, I need to make sure that that I'm clear to the rim, or something, where he doesn't want to, just engage contact and go through people and jump up and slam it. I don't know. I just wonder if that bothers him.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it does, and I actually think I actually didn't think of it like that. You could be right, of course. I think he doesn't have a lot of confidence in his lift, and it's actually
Yeah, yeah,
what I've seen over the years is that if you get him under the rim, it's actually where he's the least effective because
yeah,
he can't that's where there's the least room to create separation. And
yeah,
anybody 6'7" or bigger with a decent spring
yeah,
can really bother him enough that he has trouble finishing. And so um, I think his 71% at the rim is more a testament to maximizing Tommy's system, and he gets uncontested lobs and and seals. And that's a credit. I mean, like he's earned those for sure. And
Mhm.
I want to just make sure that that ends up being worth it because I think with his defense being what it is and his free throw shooting being what it is, he starts to get a little bit into that cost benefit area just on the eye test. And I don't know if that's maybe I'm totally distorting it. Maybe I'm underappreciating parts of his game. I do appreciate his IQ and his ability to foresee offensive lane creation for drivers.
Yep.
And I think Krivas is starting to get some of that too. So that's exciting. But I just wanted your thoughts on Umar and my hypothesis if that holds any water.
Yeah, I think the hypothesis is probably right. The guys on Wildcat Authority board who were complaining about him not coming in, a little skinnier, probably were right, and that probably leads to some of this where you saw if you. I remember seeing Oumar Ballo when he was like 16, playing
Hmm.
in the FIBA games, and the kid had ridiculous balance. Honestly, he was really, really mobile for his strength,
Huh.
and it just seems to me that as he's gotten older and just really put on weight, that it's taken a little bit of that lift out of him, and so kind of a bummer. I would, hopefully, as the season wears on, he picks up some bounce and sheds some lbs maybe, but I am obviously really encouraged, and good note on Krivas, um, encouraged by Krivas a ton, right? And Kylan Boswell had that like headline grabbing the quote today about he thinks that
Hmm.
Krivas is going to be the best big in the nation next year. There's good reason to buy that.
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't know about best, but upper echelon kind of big. He's got the offensive productivity. When you look at per 40 minutes, he's got as good or better numbers than Ballo right now. Um, he's producing more points per 40, rebounding more per 40. I think blocking more per 40 as well. Um,
Defensively, he disrupts some things for sure.
yeah, yeah, he can do some special stuff with that length and that hip mobility. Ballo's hands actually have been really impressive for this
Yeah.
season. He's
Yeah.
he's had some little poke-ins that I've been really impressed with. But
Hmm.
then additionally, the variety of offense that Krivas can provide, right?
Hmm.
He is a good free throw shooter, 77% or something like that, 78. And then he additionally has shown the ability to hit some longer twos.
Oh yeah.
That obviously is well out of Ballo's repertoire, right? And
Don't
so
come in.
it's
Yeah, I don't want to see that push shot anymore, man. I'm just
it's not working, dude. You know?
I know he like every time I'm about to scorn him, he makes one, but I'm like, man,
Yeah,
we because then like it's a really low percentage play because then our best offensive rebounder, Umar himself,
right.
is not there, and
Is
it's a
yeah.
mess. Yeah. It
It,
just
it it feels like a gut punch play
it's
whenever he
oh,
misses it, and he misses it like
oh,
80% of the time.
I
So
know. I think it was
uh,
30% on 2 point jumpers is Umar,
yeah,
31%.
yeah,
Um yeah, and the other thing I wanted to point out about the stats, two things on the 3 point shooting. If you look at it, let's look at it one more time. People probably looked at it this a moment ago, but look at the percentage of our 3 point shots that are assisted.
so
And
many.
and what that tells me is like keep in mind those are made threes. What it doesn't show you is the percentage of unassisted missed threes.
That's interesting. Yeah,
Right. So I mean,
yeah,
this tells me that like we shoot pretty darn well when we are getting threes within the flow of the offense.
right.
And we don't have the other part of that data. But the other thing I circle here is Keyshawn's up to 36%. And we
Yeah,
said
I
it,
love that.
and that's with that 1 for 8 start. We're probably like a week or two away from that 1 for 8 kind of blending into more of just what he is. He probably is 36, might be around where he is now. And but hell, if he can get up to 37, if he's a 37, 38% shooter, that changes that spreads out the offense and gives Krivas and Ballo a little more room to work theoretically. Or you
If
just
he's
you live with him hitting those, you know.
if he's a 35% 3-point shooter, I like we're all throwing ourselves a party, and it's just so much better than it's the height of what we could have hoped, right? I think we
He
probably
looks good. He looks
yeah,
good. He and Bradley look comfortable. I'm comfortable with them shooting those open, get your feet set, catch and shoots. And
totally
you know, and I hope we see more of it. And it's really changes the offense. Like we said, it's kind of remarkable what Tommy's been able to do on offense in this era.
right,
He's been playing with two bigs and really inexplicably, you know, Tubelis never developed that shot
right,
either. I mean, I think he hit like
shocking,
9.
yeah,
It's like, and he's done this with basically two non-perimeter shooting bigs. It's
yeah,
incredible. So like to have one who can go out there and, you know, he can go 1 for 3, he can go 2 for 4, he can go 2 for 2. Um, I don't know that that's enough to change the defensive priorities, but it will. Like, what is the points per possession on 36% from three? Is that like 1.1?
yeah, right. It's close to
Mhm.
1.2, right? Yeah,
That's championship level offense. So
100%. It's a good shot.
it's a very
Yeah,
good shot, right? So I was excited and encouraged to see him knock down a few this weekend. Maybe
yeah,
you want to wrap up just kind of, I'd love to hear what you hope to see against Washington State this weekend. I'll say that I meant to say this last time. I think this week couldn't come at a better time. I think
right.
this team really needed some space at home in Tucson. And so to have last Sunday through now 11 days, they're going to end up getting consecutively at home before headed out to Pullman. And that seems like, hey, they played last night in LA. That's a long trip. There's no excuses not to put our best foot forward. But what would give you some optimism if you saw it on Saturday?
Yeah, and just to tie on to what you were saying
Mm.
is I'm so happy that they won at USC
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
it not only does that shake up it takes USC kind of out of the conference title race. I think it allows us to focus on Washington State as a difficult opponent, right? You
Hmm.
know, they're not coming off a loss, they're coming off a win. Like these, they can beat you. Don't take them for granted. So
Yep.
kind of love that as we're heading into it. Um, I haven't scouted Washington State that much to have like deep thoughts about what they do. I they're not a great 3-point shooting team. I think they're a very good defense, if I remember correctly. Um,
They're 61. I'm looking at Ken Palm. They're 66
yeah,
overall, 61 on defense. They play
uh,
on the slower end of things.
yeah, um, yeah, and they don't generate a lot of assists. They don't generate a lot of threes. Um, I hope to see. My big circle is Krivas right now. Maybe it's just because we
Mm.
were just talking about him, but
Mm.
I'd like to see, he didn't, like you said, he wasn't that effective in the Utah game. I'd like to think that he could get into some rhythm here and do it on the road, and that would be very, very encouraging. Um, yeah, that'd be awesome. That's my hope.
Nice. My stat of the week. You ready for this? Okay.
Please.
Tommy Lloyd has 9 Pac-12 losses in 2.5 years. 6 of those have come on the Saturday of a normal weekend, the second game of a
Yeah,
normal
yeah,
two game trip.
yeah,
The other 3 have come on one-offs. So he's lost UCLA, which was a rescheduled COVID game that ended up being
yeah,
essentially a 3-game road trip. They did the
yeah,
Bay Area.
yeah.
I mean, I was just like, there was no way they're going to win that.
That was so trash.
So trash.
I was at that game. That was really difficult. I
I was
hated
so
that. It
mad.
was it
I
was
was
so
so mad.
bad. So
Um,
embarrassing.
Terrible. But they lost that one, and then they lost. And I had this the other day. What are the other 3 losses? Oh, anyway, there are 3 isolated losses. ASU at home, right?
Okay.
It was the other one, and then there's one more that we don't have to spend time now thinking about, but it's all in there. You can go look. But anyway, the 6 of them were on like, he seems to struggle most with the back end of a 2-game trip, and
Which
most of the
got
losses are that he's never lost.
The
Ready
front
for this?
end.
He's never lost the front end. So this is the front end of a week
Don't tell
off,
Vegas.
right? Yeah, don't tell Vegas. I don't know what this counts as because this is a one-off and it's a road game. So those two things like, raise the stakes, but also he's really good in preparing for that first game. Oh, we lost Mike. Um, we'll keep going while he gets back in here. So he's really good at preparing for that first game. And um, I'm hoping that we come out. I think it's really simple with this team. I think from here on out, it is what kind of sense of purpose can they develop collectively and individually, and how closely connected with that purpose can they play with? Can they really come out and be focused, connected, and effortful? Um, and at least, that should be pretty tough to beat. Here he comes. So that should leave us in a pretty tough place to 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 be for opposing teams. And Washington State's a pretty solid team. They'd have to play out of their minds, and of course it does happen to beat us at that level. Mike, can you hear me? Can you hear me? We don't have your audio. Welcome to the episode of Bungling Tech. I thought we had it actually dialed in. All right, we don't have your audio, my friend. Should we wrap? And I just kind of mentioned what I was looking for at Washington State. I think we got everything out this time. Next week we'll have some better stuff. Hopefully. I had a lot of good stuff to present this week, but let's go bear down this weekend. Let's get a road. This counts as a road sweep. So I will be out cleaning my neighborhood. Encourage you to do the same if you want to participate in the road sweep challenge. And yeah, bear down Arizona. And Mike says it too, although we don't have his audio.